I call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is an open meeting of the Seward, Nebraska governing body. The city of Seward abides by the Nebraska Open Meetings Act in conducting business. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is displayed on the north wall of this meeting room facility as required. Disclosure of meeting recording processes is posted in the meeting room. A participant sign-in sheet is available for use by any citizen addressing the council. Presenters shall approach the podium, state their name and address for the clerk's record, and are limited to limit their remarks to 5 minutes. All remarks shall be directed to the mayor, who shall determine by whom any appropriate response shall be made. The city of Seward reserves the right to adjust the order of items on this agenda if necessary and may elect to take action on any of the items listed. Please call the roll.
Kaler.
Here.
Colterman.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Singleton.
Here.
Streisand.
Here.
Tonjes.
Here.
Workid.
Here.
Wolkid.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
All right. Thank you, Derek. So we have the first 3 items this evening make up the consent agenda.
I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilkin, Kaler, Tonjes, Colterman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
All right, thank you. Under administrative items, item number 1 is related to the water treatment plant reverse osmosis improvements project. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, and good evening. So we have several items with this relating to the reverse osmosis plant. The first one, item 1A, we have a recommendation to award a bid to the low bidder. So we held a virtual bid on June 20th. We received 2 bids, and so on that one-page memo from the design engineer, we see the 2 listed. Bywater was the high bid at $1,216,316. Combine Harn was the low bidder, $666,109. We had the 3 bidders pre-qualified. One informed us a couple days before the bid that they would not be bidding on the project. Bywater is the original equipment manufacturer. So when that plant was built in 2004, that was the company. It actually was Florida-based. They kept a bit of the company and they sold off the municipal scale to a company, Bywater, and based in the United Kingdom. Their budgetary quote was under $600,000, so we were surprised that the bid came in at $1.2 million. But Combine Harn is well qualified. We do have a recommendation all the way around to award this contract to them in that amount of $666,109. So this is just the equipment that then with this contract will be assigned to the general contractor. The second and third items will discuss that general contract. So this project will be higher in cost. So we'll get into that in item 1C. So with that, I have the request for authorization to award the bid.
All right, so item 1A. Is there any questions or comments from the council?
Did they give the reason like why the others were so much higher?
Well, so we don't know. It may have been that it was a project that they didn't necessarily want, and so they just, surprisingly, they doubled their bid, right? And so it's a possibility they misunderstood the bid, that they were to include installation. That's in a separate contract, and so it's the only possibility. Essentially, we don't get into details from a bidder as to why theirs is so high, and so it's kind of an unknown at this point in time. So it's highly specialized. There's only a few manufacturers really capable of doing that specifically.
Thank you. Anyone else? Otherwise, I entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilkin, Kaler, Tonjes, Colterman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
Thank you. Go ahead with 1B.
Okay, now on item 1B, we have a task order. This is a amendment to the contract, the agreement that we have with the design engineer Purpose Associates, out of Ames, Iowa. And if you go to the 3 of the 4 pages of this task order, so that original agreement was based on task orders, and so as we acquire new task orders, then we come to council again for approval of the amount. We had a successful bid for the equipment. It looks like we'll have a successful bid for general contract as well. So these are services to carry our project forward. You'll see the list on page 3, the table above. This involves the bid phase, which we're going through right now, construction and post-construction engineering work. We do have a subcontractor, Shemmer Associates, that we use for our road projects, will be the resident engineer, so we're not bringing people from Ames right this way. So those two will share the responsibilities. Purpose Associates, the engineer of record, will be the lead. This contract is solely with them, and the amount that for this task order is $65,000. There are a couple items, if you see in the table at the top of page 3, that are estimated. They may go higher. We do think that we could stay within that. Of course, if they go higher, we'll come back and ask for additional money. Some of it just depends on the ease of construction, whether we can, if we have any surprises or anything like that. So with that, it's time and materials. They'll only bill us of the $65,000 requested for the work that they have undertaken. So with that, ask for council approval on this task order.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second for approval, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, yes,
I
Matt.
just one comment,
Sure.
I think, Rich and I spent a lot of time with Brandon and Mike and stuff with Adib Amini, the engineer on this project, and I don't think we can say enough good about how thorough he is and how qualified, how he digs in the project, how much work he gets done for the kind of prices he is. And I'm not trying to slam the other engineering groups that we
Oh,
work
sure,
with and
sure.
stuff, but I'm just saying that I'm not trying to put words in your mouth either, Brandon, or whatever and stuff, but it's been really a pleasure to work with, and
Yeah,
these guys really know their stuff, is what I'm trying to say, so,
Yeah.
in too many words. But.
So this, actually, this engineering firm, Adib Amini, from Purpose Associates, it's actually reconstituted from principles of Fox Engineering. This was a company that Tim Richdick, right, our departed water wastewater superintendent, director, had worked with over the years, and so he knew Fox Engineering. They were recently bought out, so we were considering having Fox Engineering be the design engineer for the wastewater plant project. That's what Tim thought of them, right, had good experience. So as they got absorbed by Strand Associates out of Wisconsin, that kind of changed the orientation of that company, less customer focused, client focused. And so Adib and a small group of people formed this other firm, also in Ames, to kind of carry on the services. So I'm glad you noticed, but
Oh, no,
we're happy with them as well.
And I think that relationship, hopefully it's a long-term one, and they certainly seem like people we can call up and ask for help or advice in the future and stuff, and I think Adib will be around. His wife is from Nebraska and stuff, so. But that's just a general comment I wanted to share with the rest of the council. Rich and I have been in a lot of meetings with him, and man, that guy can inundate you with, holy mackerel, he can do a lot of work. He can do a lot of work, so, yeah.
And so even from Ames, Iowa, he actually is they have a family farm on his wife's side near Beatrice, I believe it
Yeah.
is, and they have family in Crete, so they're here quite often.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry, I didn't want to delay the vote.
No, you're fine, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please register your votes, please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilken, Kaler, Tanya, Coltman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
Alright, thanks, next we have 1C, Mike.
Thank you. So 1C, now we're awarding the contract for the equipment itself. That'll start that process where they'll come up with shop drawings, essentially submittals for us to review and approve and get the equipment in production. We have a very tight schedule. We anticipate this project being completed in April of next year. Substantial completion and final completion in mid-May. We're trying to get that third skid installed before June of 2025. So again, this is to restore redundancy so that if something were to happen with any of the two existing skids, that we have this spare skid that would take up production, anticipated in a short number of years, 5 to 10, that we're gonna have to expand that plant beyond what it currently is. We're growing at that pace. And so with that successful award of the equipment contract, we ask now in item 1C for advertisement for the general contract. So you have 4 documents that were in your packet. You have a single page memo from Purpose Associates requesting approval from the council to advertise. The advertisement would post in the Seward Independent July 10th, 17th, and 24th, 3 weeks. The bid date is scheduled to be July 26th, end of this month, on Friday at 2 p.m. At City Hall. So this won't be a virtual bid, this will be an in-person bid. We do have 2 contractors that have already expressed interest in the project, and so we anticipate they're gonna attend the pre-bid meeting. We don't have that firmed up, but probably July 18th or 19th, where the interested contractors will gather at the water plant. So currently, we want to get this project underway, advertise, and hopefully secure a couple of good bids at the end of July.
Thanks, Mike. Are there any questions or comments from the council, or entertain a motion to approve and authorize?
Move to approve consideration and approval of the bid documents presented.
All right, and we have a second? Motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilken, Kaler, Tanya, Coltman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
All right, thank you. Item number 2, items related to the 6th Street Ash to Linkage Street water main replacement project. Welcome back, Mike.
Thank you. So in item 2A, we're requesting approval from the council for additional engineering services for a very specific conflict. This is a water main, main water main that connects the water plant, the 200,000 gallon and actually the new water tower with the north water tower. It's a 12-inch main, the significant main. It runs along the north side of Hillcrest across the 6th Street. It was not caught in the design of Highway 15, and so they've been very good about all the conflicts, identifying utilities that own that, the infrastructure that's in conflict with the state's project. This got missed by everybody, and so essentially we have to drop that 12-inch main probably on the order of 3-4 feet from where it currently is. It's currently about 6 feet below the surface of the pavement, and so there's going to be storm sewer coming from North Avenue through Hillcrest and down to Park Avenue. And of course, our Park Avenue storm sewer project is accepting that water and taking it out to 8th Street and then down that open channel that runs south of the Grenville property that's out there, and eventually to the Big Blue. Essentially, we have an obligation. We're occupying the state's right of way. We have an obligation to actually move this pipe out of the way. So the engineering estimate, the amount for this change order, you find on page 3 of this 10-page agreement, $49,615. Again, this is an estimated amount. They will bill the amount of engineering work that they actually incur for this project. Original contract amount with them, Shemmer Associates, $156,526. Adding this amendment to that of $49,615 brings the total fee for the design services for the 6th Street water main project to $206,141.
Thanks, Mike. Are there any questions or comments from the council? We entertain a motion to accept or approve the item.
Move to approve. Second.
The motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilken, Kaler, Tanya, Coltman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
All right, item 2B, Mike.
Okay, so in item 2B, it's the same issue, the water main that crosses Highway 15, 6th Street at Hillcrest. And this one, the second, there's two single-page documents that are included in your packet. It does include this diagram, this little plan of the work that's required. The first attachment is a single-page work order priced out from K2, our contractor. The price here, all line items 2 through 20 are based on the bid amount. Their additional fixed cost is found in line item 1, the remobilization. So for the original contract, that amount was $12,000. So this essentially covers all their costs of coming back later in July, all their fixed costs, rushing this project through, the things that they have to entail. There's a paragraph at the bottom that describes some of those fixed costs that are included in line item 1. It is obviously it's a significant cost increase, but we would have essentially paid all but maybe $10,000 that had been included in the bid had it been known ahead of time. And so right now those are realistic costs. We're fortunate to have K2 here mobilized on the water main project. Otherwise, if we had to bring a contractor that we didn't have an open contract with, would have been much more difficult. They would have been promised those crews to other projects elsewhere. So timing worked out pretty well, and I think this change order price reflects that. It's actually substantially lower than what we might get. We just had to find a contractor that could mobilize in a month and do this work within 2 months. That's the schedule that we're facing, so.
Thanks, Mike. Are there any questions or comments from the council?
One more comment can I make? This is actually, we just got this under the wire on Monday, and you notice there was a modification of the agenda. This is a work order, actually. We do have change order paperwork, so this essentially is approval of the amount. This is the contractor saying the engineer submitted the work that's necessary. The contractor with this work order said this is how much that work's gonna cost. We will have a single document that's actually an official change order that'll follow up. That at the next council meeting we'll ask the mayor to sign. So we're asking for permission for this specific amount at this time.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Any questions or comments from the council? Or entertain a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilken, Kaler, Tanya, Coltman, Miller, Singleton, Strice, and Morgan, 8-0.
All right, item 3, items related to construction of a 500,000 gallon water tower. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. So item 3A here, we have 2 change orders in sequence. Item 3, this change order here, we have 3 separate contracts for the water tower. We have the water tower itself, construction, then we have the buried utilities under the street leading up to the tower, some storm sewer that's included and necessary. That's the site work and utilities contract. The third contract is not up for discussion today, is the demolition contract. And so this work order, or this change order here in the amount of $102,202. This is to modify the underground piping that the design that we bid out really was not suitable, and now having greater information, having to do some exploratory work, we actually have to change how that design change the design before it's implemented. And so this covers that amount here. You have a single page change order, and then you have several pages that show the actual modifications. So there's a significant amount of additional work just to get that water main in place on the ground. And so with that, I'm asking, change order number 1 was a no cost change that was simply to modify the dates. So this is the first change order that modifies the cost of this contract. Boost the cost of that contract $696,785, increasing by $102,202, brings the total contract price for this particular contract, this phase of the project, $798,987.
All right, Mike, you're talking about 3A?
This is 3A, yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions questions or comments from the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
The motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes, please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilken, Kaler, Tanya, Colton, Miller, Singleton, Strice, and Morgan, 8-0.
Alright, 3B, Mike?
So this is also a change order for the water tower project. This is for the tower contract itself. This is a no-cost change. And so this is simply extending the dates to match the site work and utilities contract. That was change order 1 in that contract. So this one here increases the number of days, 140 to October 18th of this year for substantial completion, November 18th of this year for final completion. And so we don't think the contract needs to be extended more, just the realities of getting all the parts and pieces that we need, getting the subcontractors, everybody lined up for that. So we are still working on the coding. This is 5 pages, and then on the last page, you'll see an updated schedule for the project. So the welding is complete at this point in time. We're looking for coding to start end of July, probably extend for about 6 weeks, the coding, and then we have some electrical site work as part of this contract. And they're gonna dovetail with the utilities and site works contractor. So with approval, we request approval for this non-cost change order for the tower contract.
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes, please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilken, Kaler, Tanya, Colton, Miller, Singleton, Strice, and Morgan, 8-0.
Thank you, Mike. Item 4, update on enrollment. Welcome, Joel.
Good evening, everyone. Just to let everyone know, we are not meeting tomorrow for our every other week construction meeting, but I did get a chance to get on site today and take a look at the progress. And so just a little bit, overall and general things. The roof and insulation complete on the entire building, continue to be on schedule. Basically the schedule up there just keeps humming along, where once slabs are poured, the next crew comes in and starts working on framing of walls, and it just keeps on moving. That continues to be very good. It was a little muddy up there, but once you got inside, no issue now. So pretty good. The gym has been prepped. They put down the rebar, and they are ready for the pour, which will happen next Tuesday. So they're gonna start bright and early Tuesday morning, pour the entire floor. That has to be done in 1 day. So we'll make sure we get up there and take a look at that, because that will be significant progress to pour that whole floor. So that will be happening next week, and then once that happens in the gym, they'll work to some overhead prep work up at the ceiling. So the gym, that was a big step today to see that. Fitness cardio area will be the last part that is poured. That will be next week, and they are right now still getting the dirt ready and putting electrical boxes and power in the ground, so that we'll have outlets and data on at the ground level for our equipment. That has been progressing well also, and so that will happen next week. The pool excavation is complete, and they have started bringing back in rock to be the base layer of that. So I mentioned before, they over excavated, and so they took a lot more out, and now they're bringing rock back in to build that back up. But that is completely excavated. It's pretty neat to see that big hole there, and that crew keeps making progress on it as well. Next thing, with that rock, they'll start getting underground piping in there, and they'll work on the surge pit. So that's pool. Locker room, classrooms. Locker rooms are mostly framed right now.
going out, that is working pretty well, almost all, basically through the multi-purpose room, locker room corridor through the multi-purpose room is framed. The classrooms and office, the entry area got poured last week, and they're getting started on the framing on that part and doing all that. So that is progressing well in there. There's a lot of cement to walk on in there now. So that is a really good section. The boulevard was supposed to be started pouring and paving this week, but obviously it's way too wet, and they won't even consider if there's chances of rain. So I doubt they'll get to that this week, but they're all ready to go, and in the next 2 to 3, the boulevard phase 1 will begin to be paved. So that'll be another big step with that. And that the first phase is 75% of the whole paving. And so in the end, that boulevard is supposed to be done about the end of August. And that will be completely finished. The last section, the parking lot, previously 2/3 of the parking lot had been done, and that's a nice piece up there because you can pull in and everybody's on the pavement. So once they get done with the boulevard, they will prep the south third, and then that parking lot will be paved. So again, by the end of August, we think, right in that time frame, that whole parking lot will be done. And so that will make things a lot easier, but also that the building has no holes in the roof, and the roof is all on and sealed up is a big thing, especially last couple days. So work continues to buzz along up there, where previously on a day like yesterday or today, that would have ended work for the day. So things are good with that. Any questions on the Wellness Center? I'll have one thing with Freedom Run, but.
I was just gonna ask about the Freedom Run.
Yeah, well, we're to plan B, C, maybe we'll get to D, because we were excited to take it down to Plum Creek Park, use the trail, but that looks like that will be absolutely impossible. Even if things dry off, it will be way too messy to have a safe area. And so we're brainstorming, looking at probably, if possible, moving it back to the original course and start at the pool, and then use Bluff Road, if that all looks okay through tomorrow afternoon. Basically, we're in a wait and see what happens. I've emailed all the registrants, and by the way, we're over 300 registrants as of today, and so that is a really nice mark to be at, doing really well with that. Last year was their highest, and we're basically right at that mark. And so we really want to get this in, but I emailed all of them today, laid out the options, the reality that there is a possibility that if water keeps coming and flowing down the river, that there just won't be a safe place to run it. And we want to make sure that there's enough little kids and older runners that we want to make sure that we provide a safe area for that. So we're going to make sure we uncover everything tomorrow afternoon. Hopefully that we're in good shape, and we'll move it down to the pool and go back to Plum Creek Park and the trail the following year. That we're hoping for that, but that's kind of where we're at right now.
2 people did drop out though of the race.
What's that?
2 people dropped out.
2 people dropped out because they thought they were registering for a race in Seward, Alaska.
It's still a thing, guys. It is still a thing.
And
Every year.
so it's asked for a refund, which we'll obviously take care of. But yeah. And they're actually from Denver, so.
Did you invite them for next year?
Well, we could just say you're free next year if you just want to come here and do that.
They
But
could be the tourist family.
the lady did say this, obviously she was kind of embarrassed and felt a silly request that she had to do, but she did say, your 4th of July celebration looks fantastic. So,
That it is.
but yeah, it kind of happens all the time. So, but yeah, otherwise we've looked, we have 18 states covered, and so that is pretty good mark. So hopefully we can make this happen, but obviously we'll do what's right by everybody and be safe.
Thank you, Joel. Any questions from the council?
Back to the wellness center, is there a point in time where it's safe that we could go see the progress?
Yes, I would say pretty soon as they have all those things poured in there and we can walk around, and it's a little tricky to get in there right now when it's wet. They've done a good job of putting some rock down to not make a completely sloppy mess. I definitely think end of the month or next month we could probably plan something and do that. They're happy to let us in up there, and we'll just have to figure out the right time. Maybe we'll have to pick a couple different days that can do it. Those crews start really early, so they're done usually on site by 3:30 or 4. And so that makes it a little bit easier for us to get in at that time, and but we'll work on that. That'll be fun to show everybody. Definitely good to see the progress in there.
Thank you, Joel. Update on Highway 15.
Yeah, Highway 15. So today we did meet with NDOT and their on-site crew and management team for the project. Myself, Jim Mike Onaby, Councilmember Morgan, Councilmember Streisand, Jonathan Jank was with us, members of the business community, Kay Hanson with the postmaster, because we have some, as we move into the next phase, we're gonna need the mailboxes and do some of that up north of Hillcrest. And so we met today. As you can see, they're essentially off-site now, as they predicted on the 28th, so that worked out well. And they will be away until July 8th, so Monday after the 4th of July, they'll come back. And all of those signs and all of those barricades and everything that was in downtown, there'll be even more of it. So,
Downtown or?
yes,
Still?
yeah, because they have to go down to one lane. Because it's only southbound traffic when they close this back off all the way to 34. So they will basically close from Pinewood to Highway 34, one lane of traffic. It'll actually be the southbound lane, so the southbound traffic will divert over. I think they're gonna shift them. They'll work better in downtown being in the southbound lane, so they'll come into the northbound lane for a while and then they'll shift back around. So just be prepared for that. We will probably see an increase on Second Street now, because you won't have all these different spots to duck out like you did before. So Second Street will start seeing an increase in traffic, and we'll continue to monitor that, especially the truck traffic, because that will be the biggest issue. But again, all of that will be back at that time for the most part. Seward Street and Highway 15, that intersection was not touched because they didn't want to go in there twice. The traffic lights were not in yet. Those are anticipated to be in by the end of the month, with the work being done in August. So they'll come back to that intersection, and you do one half of the intersection and then the other half of the intersection. So be prepared for that. When they activate on July 8th, they will start down at Park in the southbound lane and move from Park all the way down to Bradford, and start beginning to remove the road, prep the road, or the road. As they do that, they'll start moving the other way to demo, and then just follow themselves up north. In addition to, once they get the demo done, I believe they are gonna pull out that crew and they'll head up to Northern Heights. They will modify some turn lanes up there and pour some stuff back. They will add curb ramps and a crossing and sidewalk up there. And so that's the end of that element of the project. Once that's in, the asphalt project from North Avenue to just past Pinewood will also be activated and finished off before school starts. So it's gonna get very busy up there. Basically from July 8th through mid-August. They're gonna be doing a lot of work also at the north end. So that'll probably be the worst of it, because there'll be two active projects kind of going on at the same time, and then it will just shear back into the one singular one. Letters did go out to property owners north of Hillcrest with mailboxes, that their mailboxes were identified to be moved in the general location. There's some back and forth even as of today of when that would happen. They thought there'd be a few more weeks, but Due to that singular traffic and only being southbound, they may move them earlier, so, but they'll continue to communicate that. And Kay Hansen's aware of it, so her people running those routes can know where to go to find the mailboxes. I'd also say that Park Avenue's probably become a continued headache, as we may have talked about before. The soil down in that bottom there, that was adjacent to the railroad right of way, is just junk. Is that a good way to describe it, Mike?
Good, yes, correct.
Yep. It's as dark as night. It's not the type of soil that you would want to compact and be underneath the roadway that you want to last for 10, 20, 30 years. And so they're not reaching the compaction rate based on the status of that soil. And so we're reviewing different options. One of the options includes replacing that soil with the kind of clay mixed soil that came out of the wellness center that's a lot drier and better for compaction purposes. So they may up the soil there on Park Street, go up and use that soil that would have been wasted and bring it back down, try to use that for compaction and get it to dry out. Because it's an incredible inconvenience to those on Park, because it's just sitting there now. The pipes are in the ground, correct?
Correct.
So they're ready to be connected, but the road is not ready to be poured back because they can't reach the compaction rate. So, they've activated their backup on 7th and Bradford. They'll start moving their way after the 4th of July towards 6th and Bradford to make that connection, hopefully ahead of NDOT, but, there's some discussion about that this morning today too, was an item of topic. The area from Jackson to Bradford is very temporary right now, so I noticed that, like, Derek had let me know that the paint's coming up. There's some ponding of water there. None of that is in its final format. It's essentially temporary everything except the concrete roadway. So obviously there's an extra lane that's supposed to be in the middle that's not there right now. So all that painting does not remain the way it is at the moment. So it's kind of in a temporary situation. So I think they were pumping this morning water out of that area just to get it out. So overall, on time, on schedule. Hopefully the weather will keep up with us. I know it was a little bit of a wet, late spring, early summer, but they were able to perform in a timely manner. And so they'll just keep on rolling, and we'll see where we get. But this will be a little bit of an adjustment. You'll start seeing some definitive traffic detouring. So answer any questions you have. I thank Jonathan, his group. I want to thank the business owners that went out and treated a lot of the people involved, a lot of the contractors especially, but NDOT, giving some city crews and things to some ice cream treats last week. That was very, very kind of them and much appreciated and celebrated. We do have the event with K2, not K2, with constructors on July 3rd for kids over at the library. We'll be placing in kind of a concrete remembrance of their time here working on this project, and kids are allowed to come and put their hands in the concrete and write their first names and stuff. So that'll be in the mid-morning. Look to social media for information on that if you're interested. We have a few of the daycares coming and things like that. And so that'll be a fun event for kids if they want to put something in lasting and remember when we redid the highway for the first time in years and years. So that's Highway 15. I'll have plenty of other things to update you on in my administrative report.
Any questions about this item?
I just wanted to mention that, at the time they're gonna be putting that asphalt project in, that's the beginning of the school year, correct?
No, they're gonna be done.
They'll be done, okay.
Yes, their goal is to do the asphalt project before the school year starts.
That's what I wanted to put in there.
So it's gonna get really tight and really busy,
Yeah.
because school gets going
That's
mid-August.
a big part of the chaos.
Yeah,
Part of
that
this.
adds
'Cause
to it, doesn't
There's a
it?
lot of moving parts, and like to your point, we wanna try to inconvenience as few people as possible.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, if you live right there, you can't avoid it. It is what it is.
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
City Administrator's report?
All right, we got tons of stuff on city administrator's report. I'll start with the topic of the day. We have some pretty good flooding going on. The rain event last night, depends on what you check, but upwards of 4 inches of rain dropped in the general area. Right now, Plum Creek is actually the problem. As I reported when I came in, if you didn't go down there, the entire grass t-ball fields, the football field, the flag football field, most of the soccer fields, a third of the parking lot, the basketball court, the playground, and all the walkways leading up to the baseball fields and some of the outfield areas on 3 and 4 are all underwater. And it kind of looks like an ocean now. So that moved very quick. I did call Bob Core when I was coming down here. He lives the closest to it along with me, and so I asked him at a 2-hour interval to just kind of go check it. They're not interrelated, so you can't entirely go off the National Weather Service prediction for Blue River because those are two different tributaries of water. So we'll just monitor it, but it's predicted that the Blue River will crest at Seward at 1 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. But that doesn't mean that's what the creek will do. And I've seen this creek, even in my short time here, do all kinds of weird things. So we're just gonna monitor at this point. We don't anticipate it will cause any issues. We don't think it'll have any issues with the Bluff Road Bridge or the Waverly Road Bridge. It's already over East Seward, and that was anticipated. But other effects, obviously the trail's closed, and you probably saw that notice, but the trail will take a while to get open back up. I'm assuming we will have a lot of sediment and silt that will need to be scraped off of those areas and cleaned up, so that will take us a day or two to get sorted out. But we'll keep monitoring, and we'll monitor it throughout the night and go out there. It's relatively close to the cattle building, so which it did in 2019 as well. But again, these two tributaries work in different ways, so I just said just go monitor every 2 hours and see what it's doing. So that's Plum Creek. Blue River, so 2nd Street Bridge, that's actually the county's area, but that's underwater now. I went down there just before I got here significantly, like you wouldn't want to cross it. The South Columbia is closed. Centennial Park is closed. There's probably some lowland flooding going on down in there. So we'll continue to monitor those areas, but for the most part with the Blue River, that will be it. Lincoln Creek didn't seem to take as much water as the Blue River did, and so that's kind of flattened itself out already. Up at Surprise, the Blue River looks flat. So we'll just monitor that one, but again, we tried to go off the predictions, and the predictions still are pretty high. So we'll go with that conservative nature, and we'll just keep monitoring and moving barricades and watching it over the next day and a half. I don't think there'll be a substantial impact to the 4th of July other than the Freedom Run, and likely maybe some stuff down just parking in that area down by the fourplex. We'll see what kind of nature that, if all the rock is pushed off and it's down to the mud, we don't want people down there because we gotta get new rock put down before people drive on that. They'll get stuck and make a huge mess of it. So we'll keep an eye on that. Trying to get anything else in regards to the flood. I want to commend the street crew, public properties crew. Street crew was out. I met them early this morning. We were already pumping down at the 10th Street pump station. We also worked our way over to 14th Street as that filled up. As I put in the email today, there is a dance that goes on with rainwater and storms like this, and so the Sunday night, Monday morning storm put enough, about an inch of rain down, that we needed to open all the floodgates or the stop closures in the levee to let all that water out. So if you would have drove down 14th Street about 7 in the morning, that whole thing was completely underwater because the stop gate was closed. They opened it back up, they let the water out. Well, all those things were open. The river comes up 8 feet within 8 hours, which is really fast. And so all those had to be closed immediately. And so now we're pumping again. And so I think even tonight they're still pumping at 14th Street. We're also pulling water that comes out of Hughes Brothers campus, that, because it's behind the levee, it kind of gets stuck. And when you have that amount of waterfall, as me and Matt talked about today, when you have that amount of waterfall, it needs to go somewhere. And so some of it's getting into the area by 14th Street and some of our underground storm sewer areas. So we're helping pump that out over the levee. What?
I don't think it's as bad as it used to be.
I disagree.
You think?
Oh, yeah,
I saw some photos today. It's pretty bad.
yeah.
Going
So,
back to-
We got a lot more
Standing
concrete
water
buildings
last
than we
night
used to.
in the middle of the rain event,
Used to have a place to
but
soak
once
in.
it stopped
We don't
raining
anymore.
for half an hour, it was able to drain away,
I
but
think it was Weed Creek way up
Yeah.
this thing's killing
it gets
them.
pretty bad. And
Yeah.
so,
I think this is good.
again, it has nowhere to go. Anything that falls inside of the levee area that drains down into there, it has absolutely nowhere to go with those closures shut. So it just sits there and backs up, so it has to be pumped out. It's the only way to get it out of that area, and that area includes Hughes Brothers. So all the water that falls there. At some point, wherever it ends up, it has to get pumped out over the levee. So I think they were still pumping tonight out of the 14th Street one, and that's our biggest pump actually, is the one that we can like drag around with us on a trailer. So, but they've done a great job. That's kind of what they've done all day, is just move barricades, and tomorrow they're gonna go into 4th of July mode. So hopefully the river doesn't do too much more. It sounds like the weather's gonna hold up for us tonight, so that'll be nice. But that's the flood situation. Like I said, we'll continue monitoring. I'll go out early in the morning and start looking at the river heights, gauges and things like that. In the meantime, 4th of July, getting ready.
I have a request.
Okay.
I usually pull over the tourist family and I do the apple pie. I can't be in two places at once, and the tourist family is coming to town at the exact same time as apple pie. So I need someone to go with our wonderful police department to pull over the tourist family. Is there any volunteers? No?
Be selected.
You get-
Well, I will have Clark call one of you to volunteer you that you're gonna be doing this, so.
There'll be some volunteering going on. So, business as normal. We did have our 4th of July meeting with the committee and the city right here in these offices, and so everything went well. Gave our instructions. I think one of the big ones will be anything that kind of goes into the park up at Plum Creek. All that ground is saturated, so if we're bringing in trailers or anything else for the band performance and things like that, it's gonna be wet. You gotta be very careful. So we probably should have brought some of that stuff in earlier, but we didn't know exactly what the weather was gonna look like ahead of time. So we'll try to see how dry we can get things before we maybe move that. Seems like porta potties were delivered. I'm guessing that dumpsters and that will be coming shortly as well. So other than that, the committee's been very good. They worked really well with us. With NDOT was here for that meeting as well. And so made a few slight adjustments to a few things and accommodated some of the things they needed. We'll be in good shape. So, any questions on 4th of July stuff? Otherwise, business is normal. There was a question about the signs up at Pinewood, why those stop signs went away, but none of the other ones did. And that was a request by the PD so that 4th of July firework traffic can get out of town. Because it will be really slow if it's stopped on Pinewood. It just needs to go. Because that's the main vein, probably to get a lot of them back to a highway, that in North Columbia. So that's why that one is gone, and then that will return to normal on Monday. So,
New normal.
sorry.
I was gonna say, you normal.
I can see you're thinking that.
It felt really new
New-
normal because there's no
new-
stop signs there, and I keep stopping there for some
I
reason.
know, new normal temporarily.
So, that's that. We'll continue on budget stuff, and so you'll start seeing that at the next meeting, and then as we end up towards the end of the month, and then obviously that will go hot and heavy in August and September. So be prepared for budget items. Sydney will be back with us on Monday, and so we will continue to work on that. My report's in there. I can answer any other questions. I did check in with golf today. Dan did report that for the most part, even with this rain, the golf course held up really, really well. The dam, as we call it, that dam, did its job. I drove down Augusta. I didn't see any major issues, both in the eastern side, where we kind of had a river and that Mother's Day storm years and years ago, and coming right down the middle of Augusta, all that was completely fine last night. So it seems like it's doing what it needs to do. The highway, or the state replaced the tube underneath by the high school, so that was at least in better condition, because this would have been a good test of that old system. So we'll just continue to monitor that, but Dan's done a great job of doing stuff up there to make sure that we can work through that, but they did well. So yeah, I'll answer any other questions you have. Oh, the pool, yeah, that thing too. So many things have happened since the pool, it's almost like I forgot. The main circulation pump on Sunday broke. The impaler on it basically obliterated itself. Luckily it did not come out of the housing. They just turned it back on and noticed that it was not working correctly. Immediately shut it off. If they would have walked out and let it run, it would have probably thrown itself out and broke the casing on it. So they immediately took it in first thing on Monday morning, removed it, took it to Waverly. That is an old pump, so it's hard to find an impaler, but they were trying to locate an impaler that can work for that. In the meantime, they're also getting us a new pump potentially, so that both options will be available when we pull the trigger. But that will be out of commission until at least early next week. So luckily we missed 2 days that we wouldn't have been open anyway. We're not open on the 4th, so we're not missing a ton of days. weather outlook's not terribly swimming adept, so that's good, but we need to get it up and running, so we'll get the assessment on what that's gonna cost and a timeline. Again, we need to make a decision based on timeline as well. And right when we got the stupid springboard in there, this had to happen, so, I'll give props to my kid, Bob Cora and his crew were out there, and, they recognized Rex walking around the pool, and they said, hey, you come over here and jump off this first, because your dad won't get mad at us if it falls apart when you fall. So Rex got to be the first person off the new springboard, and he was very confused for a while, like, why are these guys talking to me? But it was pretty funny, and then they came back, they said, after a few kids, and there was a line 25 kids long, because they were so excited to see it, so. Hopefully we can get them back out there and let them enjoy that, but we gotta get that pump up and running. And kudos to the water department, and Brandon and his crew, and Adam and his pool staff are recognizing it, getting Brandon specifically noted in his email that whoever was working that, noticing that, not just walking away from it, probably saved us a bigger headache potentially, so. Any other questions I can answer? Alright,
We entertain a motion to.
I'll move to approve the administrator's report.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Just say here.
If you register your votes, please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilkie, Taylor, Tiny, Coltrane, Miller, and Singleton, Striker, Morgan, 8-0.
Are there any future requests for council agenda items or administrative action?
I have a question about the fireworks ordinance, just in general.
Go ahead.
So, got I don't wanna say complaint, kind of a complaint, just maybe a better understanding of the 6-day rule, is that pretty standard?
Across the.
Educate me.
you
Across
sent out
the-
an email about this today, and me and Rich were working with a citizen on another issue, and we were waiting for them to show up for 15 minutes, so we were sitting, so we did some quick research.
And
It is predominantly exactly like we have it. So we looked at York, Milford, Gretna, Columbus, Norfolk, Crete,
Utica,
Beatrice, Utica we called,
we called.
and basically every single person is roughly that.
What's
We
the
used to be
issue?
longer.
What's the issue?
too long,
They think
Used
it's
to be
too long.
longer.
really?
Is it,
It's
well,
the 4th of July city.
That's right.
I'd say about every year I have, about
I
every
just
year,
don't understand.
about every year I get approached by people, and usually the concern is animals, and then also veterans with PTSD in particular. And so we just, we have a conversation. Unfortunately, there's really, not much we can do that would really address the issue. You can reduce the hours during the day, you can reduce the number of days, but if you follow it out to its logical conclusion, you get to 0.
Yeah.
Because it can always be shorter. And so, unfortunately, you don't have a good answer. It's you sympathize with with the people that have those issues, especially with in particular the veterans. I had a dog growing up, and when it stormed, I knew George was going to be underneath my parents' bed because that's where he hung out when it thundered. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it, in particular being